Okay, so welcome to the first interview segment of Facehammer Worldwide, and we are joined by a very special guest Ritchie, the headliner, some would say, of the event.
Yeah,
he's like the cold player.
not me, but other people.
Yeah. You said you just described him as Coldplay.
Yeah. Some people like Coldplay.
Well, not really. I'm not down with that. So
but
I hate Coldplay. Oh my god!
He's gonna leave now, and
just get his piano out. Get out. No.
What does that guy wear? Why does he wear what he wears? He's a oh no, don't like him.
Les's Coldplay poster just out of shot. Cheers, Steve.
Do I look like
it's the lyrics he's got tattooed on his body I'm shocked about.
It's where he's got them tattooed that I'm really shocked about.
Yeah, I've got kiss tattoos all over me.
He's got Love Gun somewhere.
I've got
right. Okay, so we thought we would start off and talk about competitive play and lists. So Ritchie, obviously, do you want to just give us a bit of an introduction to who you are, what you do, what you play, and how you got into Warhammer? There you go. You can talk for about 20 minutes.
So no worries. Yeah. So I'm Ritchie. I work, I own Just Play games in Liverpool, and we do a podcast, Just Saying, as well. I mostly play Age of Sigmar, pretty much exclusively game-wise, and have done for, I don't know, since General's Handbook 1 come out, basically. Just a tiny bit before that. And that's my, little story. Army-wise, I play a few. I think I've got like 6 or 7 now. I've mostly played KHARADRON Overlords is my favourite army, which I played early on, and I've also played quite a bit of Sylvanas, quite a bit of Gloomspite Gifts, and quite a bit of Disciples of Zinch in tournaments anyway.
Yeah.
Les, we've got some echo coming through your mic, by the way. Yeah, cool. So you've been playing with KHARADRON Overlords at the moment, haven't you? I guess, is that fair to say?
Yeah. Right now, like every game I've played for quite a while has been with KHARADRON Overlords. Certainly since whenever their boat points went down, and a little bit before that as well. When that rumor of points, we were playing a little bit then as well. So yeah.
Oh, cool. So because obviously it's a bit of a weird time right now, and obviously it's I saw that you've done a bit of social distance garden gaming and things like that, and obviously you own a store, so you've got a place to play. So are you playing much at the moment?
Yeah, I'm playing a fair bit. I'm playing, I'd say I try and play twice a week right now. I played on a Tuesday night, and I've played bits on a Friday afternoon. So yeah, enough. I've at least played a game a week for a while now. And yeah, at the odd time I've played a little bit more. So yeah, more than most people probably get to, luckily. So
yeah, that's fairly. I'm a bit jealous. I haven't played since Tomlin's events back in February, I want to say.
Yeah, I didn't for quite a while either. But I got a bit of a bug when I started playing again, particularly when like everybody, we just got excited about KHARADRON Overlords again. So that really got me wanting to play more. So
with KO then, I really want to talk about the meta, which is in a bit of a weird place because there aren't really events, and you've got TTS, and obviously there are results being recorded from events across the globe, and I've seen some number crunching by JP and stuff like underdog, overdog ratings and things like that, and KO seem to be doing quite well in those sort of stat charts. And how are you finding, since the changes, play with them?
I guess I'm terrible at it because everyone else seems to win, but I seem to lose loads. I don't think they're that good, really. The point changes. You could at the extreme end, you can save 220 points or something by buying a load of boats, but I'm not convinced that's any good. And then the lists that are doing okay maybe have 3 boats, so maybe they're 90 points cheaper or something, which isn't a lot, really. So it does make me look back and think, did I really just miss it with these? Did we all just miss that they were actually okay? And all we need is a little little, something to focus on. But yeah, I've struggled with them really. I guess that it's just a bit harder to play than some of the armies I have played in the last few years. I've played a certain style, a very forgiving style, and maybe I just need to step my game up, learn a little bit more about playing some different ways, and improve. But they're good. They're a very hard army to play. I don't think they're very forgiving. I think anybody who just says they just blow you off the board is wrong. Like, maybe you do just blow someone off the board, but that's not how it feels from our side. We're really trying hard to put everything together, manage our distance, managing the chance of getting double back, or even just I go, you go things. There's a hell of a lot going on. You don't have many models on the board. They are awful at objective play. And
Yeah. I mean, I think...
Do you think they're...
Go on.
I was going to say, do you think they're kind of too flexible, Ritchie? Do you think it makes it really hard to choose what to do because you can do everything?
Oh, mate, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's very fair, you can be everywhere making a decision on what you want to do and what range you want to go into. Do you want to stay at this range or that range? What side of the board? When do you want to press and try and hold objectives? Can you wait another turn to score? Can you not? There's definitely a lot going on. They're just not very forgiving, right? Like, if someone gets into you, then you can get cut up pretty fast. So, it's hard, and I'd like to think I play against good people all the time. So obviously I don't really get any games that are easy. A lot of these tournaments are, small one-dayers, local one-dayers, and things like that. So typically, that means the games are normally a little bit easier. I'm sure, sorry if any of these tournaments are actually the best 10 people in the world or in whatever city playing, but that's not normally how it goes. So I play some of the best players all the time, and I don't like play in a tournament way where I try and just beat you and not tell you everything, and stuff like. Not that if someone asks me something, I don't hide it, obviously, but I don't go, actually, mate, you don't want to put them there, Whereas I would do that when I was playing against my friends. I'd be like, oh, look, watch that distance there. No, actually take those models off because you'll take this gun out of range, things like that. So, I don't make it easy for myself either. But,
and I think what you're doing when you do that is you're making yourself a better player. And like, you've got a strong group up there with like Tinsdale and JP and all that lot. I mean, there's a group of really good gamers. Obviously, like Tom's fairly local as well, and Tony and all that lot. So you've got a really strong group of players up there. One of the things that was quite interesting to me when you were talking is you were talking about like maybe you're just not as good a player as you thought you were. Sort of paraphrasing. Mm-hmm. And I think that where we've played in the past, and that your armies, you can play it like a recipe because you've got a very, very defensive, well thought out strategy with an army that synergizes, but it's almost irrelevant what's on the other side of the table because you've got a game plan and you execute it in the same way. Yeah, exactly. It's a pre-planned execution, and really the scenario might make a difference. Generally, what you're playing against doesn't really matter, and that's when you're playing with the Gits and with the the Sylvaneth. Fire Slayers to an extent, but
Change Oath's the same. Yeah, Fire Slayer's the same.
And build your castle.
And I think what you're almost doing is KHARADRON, from my experience, they are very good, but there's, like you say, there's tons of decisions that are all on you, and it's very hard to know what the best decisions to make are across that. And I think you've got the added problem that they are very fragile. So once they get into you, it's basically game over. And if you get a level turned and they get into you, you're basically done. And I think that the new book did a lot to alleviate that, where you had things like the A for Gold, being able to do reroll saves, being able to shoot from embark, and some of the more movement and the fly high stuff allows you to mitigate that a little bit. But really, it's just interesting to hear you say that, and I think that going outside your comfort zone and playing an army that doesn't suit your style is almost... It will take you a while to learn that way of playing, but I think it would be beneficial to you if you switch back to the other style, that you understand that style more, so it should help you in those situations.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. I appreciate that, definitely. I think the armies I have played historically are the best way to approach Sigmar. Maybe don't worry about double turns. Don't worry about who wins the turn roll. It's very rare playing like Fire Slayers, Change Host, Gits, or 100 Dryads.
100 Dryads.
It mattered who went next.
That.
Yeah, you like that one,
Kelly?
Kelly?
That game at all.
Oh, but because it doesn't matter what I did it, Terry? We played. I went first against your army that was doing something similar-ish. And it didn't matter who was going.
You just wall them in with Dryads and then go on then. You're not getting out.
I'm going
to put more and more Dryads there every couple of turns. I'm going to keep summoning more. I'm going to retreat them out of combat, and they're always going to be -1 to hit because this one dude over here is stood next to a tree, but the dude you're hitting is 40 inches away from the tree. Still -1 though. I'm in a tree.
Well, you shouldn't have come down the woods, Terry, should you? That's how it goes. So
yeah, I should have come on the board because there was a wood on the board.
If you go down to the woods today, you'll be in for a surprise.
Rich is going to smash you up.
There's a nursery rhyme that teaches children about this lesson, Terry. I think
going down the woods with Ritchie. Yeah.
I mean, I have after having heard Ritchie's assessment of playing with the army, I have a question for Russ and then Ritchie. It sounds like armies that are that flexible. One of the ways to kind of take a bit of the mental pressure off in terms of decisions is just to give your opponent some shit to deal with. Like typically that would be in their side of the board, and then once they're making decisions around the issue you've given them, you kind of get a bit of a and a chill, and then you can start making more obvious decisions yourself. Russ, is there a way, because you know more about the KO than the rest of us here that aren't Ritchie, is there a way when you play them that you put the ball in your opponent's court so you could then have a clearer set of things? If that was
100%.
An army that I played. Yeah.
100% know what you're saying. I think typically, KO when I played them for one event was Clown Car, Ziflin back in the day, and I haven't really played with the new book. I think what you're talking about is the difference between reactive or proactive play. So the problem with KO is, and I found that with a lot of armies, and I had the same situation when I played Les in the Mirror with the same Stormcast list, is that when you are the one that has to play the army proactively, but your opponent hasn't done anything in the game because you're going first or whatever, and you're basically trying to anticipate how they're going to behave or what's going to happen. Whereas when you react to things, it's a lot easier to make decisions because all you're doing is saying, actually, this is what I need to do. I need to deal with this unit now, so they're my target. Right, now I need to do that. But when you've got a blank canvas, you're almost trying to go, how can I... You're almost dictating the game state. You almost say, right, this by moving my pieces in these places or going for this objective rather than that objective, you're essentially saying, this is the initial landscape of the game. Now let's do the reaction. You go, I go, or you go if you get double turned. But, you do that, and then you say, actually, it comes down to you as a player to make that decision and say, right, this is how I want the start to look like because I've got all the control and all the power. Have they got enough? Yep. And what I tend to do is try to give them more than one obvious thing to react to so they could do the wrong thing. So sometimes even just putting a unit on the side of the board, far away, that you do a 9-inch charge and you fail it and it's just sat on the side, they might go, right, I'm going to go after that and kill it. Or I'm going to spread out, or I'm going to go for this.
It's like asking questions, isn't it? It's like making your opponent. You touched on the game that we played then. Is that I like to play armies that I like to be aggressive. I like to make my opponent be on the back foot. That's why I don't play particularly well when I'm in a defensive, which is why it was such a weird one for me playing Fire Slayers at the ETC, because it was like build the castle, wait for them to come in, and then fight. I prefer to take. I'm going to go here and here. You need to make a decision whether you deal with that threat or you deal with that threat. And that's kind of how I like to play. Whereas I think what you're saying is that you can't really do that as well with KO because they can just deal with the threats that you're putting on the table, right?
Well, I think with KO, because it's a ranged army and it doesn't have a lot of combat, it's a very safe... You're almost going, right, I need to eliminate these 4 things before they become an issue. So I've got my target priority and I need to make sure I'm at these ranges. and the biggest thing you pose for your opponent is they're thinking, where are you going to fly high and where you're going to drop to. So I think you need to be patient with KO now, whereas in the past you'd go, here's my boat, all my men, my entire army right in front of you, try and do enough damage. Oh, I didn't, I lose. Oh, I did, I win. Yeah. Now I think you need to spread out, play the long game, use your 24-inch range, use your manoeuvrability, and pull their army around. The problem with the current KO, from my understanding from talking to people like Tom, is that because of the lack of number of models, it's very easy to get left for dust in objective play. I don't know if you agree with that, Ritchie. You're a bit more experienced in KO than me.
Yeah, crazy. Like that's the hardest part is the objective play. By a long stretch, and yes, like the boat list. Like I know Tom's playing a bunch of boats, you know, and that's going to find it really hard. I don't lack men, particularly, and there is a couple of things you can lean into to really help you with the objective play and help you with having numbers on the board. And I've got all of that because I think it's so important. But some of the points that you make are super relevant. Like, you know, I play high drop. I get given first turn a lot, which I've decided I don't mind. But you say I'm the proactive one, and you know they're reacting to me. Like I've got 3 units of Aether Wings in the unit I've played with the most, and they're just great for solving that problem. You know, you're gonna make me go first. I'm just gonna go and do the Aether Wings. They're gonna either grab the objectives, get me scoring without committing my army anywhere. The army then can fly high to wherever it wants to be. You know, somewhere safe basically while doing some shooting often. And all the Aether Wings are going to help screen again for, when they do go and maybe go twice. So yeah, I found that's helped with that side of things. But I've played a list that wants my boat to be together for buffs and healing and stuff like that. And maybe that doesn't give people enough things to think about. I think it could split up more, and maybe a shift in the characters could do that. So being tough.
Have you thought about allies in KO and what they could do to the army to fill some of the weaknesses?
I just been looking at something to my right, which is a Knight Vexler and 15 Liberators. Just wondering if there is a way to literally give people a target.
No, I've took Aether Wings, and yeah, so I have took allies, which is something I wouldn't really do. I guess no, Russ, because I don't like playing armies with allies. I just don't, it goes back to I just don't like doing it. I'm
sure Byron's got an opinion.
Yeah, I have took 3 Aether Wings, because look, I do. That is a nod towards wanting to, to win, and I'm not hampering myself because I do think they're excellent and very good in the army. But no, I've looked at taking 2 units of dwarfs. Iron Breakers are really well costed now.
I was going to say Dispossessed, yeah. Gyrocopter, Gyrocopters fit with a theme and are more expendable and more cheap, and they also deal with hordes and they're floaty ships.
Yeah, you're right. They fit perfectly, and the points cost of them is a number that isn't common in the army as well. So it lets you, sometimes fit a unit of 3 of them in when you couldn't fit anything else in from the KO book very effectively. I think they're 180, and that you don't come across that much in KO. So yeah, they're a fair option. I've seen people have success with them. I think, like you said, because they clear hordes, they are good at it, and I'm fine at clearing hordes.
Yeah,
they've got a lot of shots. But it's good. I really like playing with the army, but it is hard, and I have made I'm fully on tilt with Age of Sigmar right now because I made some dumb mistakes in my last 2 games, and I'm so wound up it's untrue. But the otherwise, to get games away from making doing some silly things, the turn roll has been testing. But not in the way that I guess I can double people and win. But what are you going to do? I'm playing a shooting army.
Yeah,
that's the rules. That's the rules of Age of Sigmar. Unfortunately, I guess maybe I do match up against something that cannot take it, and I do just blow them off the board. But I've more found that I've really needed double at times to keep up with the objective play. So some of the stuff that you blow cooldowns on to take objectives, like Zilfin move, I think is really powerful. You get to cheat and get on objectives, and to use Warp Lightning to use that to just deploy Warp Lightning Vortex. I haven't found to give me a very good long game, so that's why I don't like Warp Lightning Vortex. Iron Sky Command helps you cheat and get onto objectives as well, very close. So yes, I can steal objectives and score, but sometimes I need to score twice. You know, like blow a cooldown, I want 6 points off that objective, not 2 or 3. You know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So.
Is there? I mean, we've got a couple of questions. So, our Breaking Bad himself, Mr. Herno, is asking you which battle plans cause you the most problems.
Oof.
Scorched Earth has got to be.
Definitely. Maybe. But I play. Heroes are okay. They're movable around. That Ironclad with a hero in can cover 2 to protect your own, or can cover 2 of theirs when it burns. And burning missions are quite good for me because, like I've just said I'm very good at stealing an objective, but I'm not very good at holding them. So when I can like burn and sometimes just win the game mathematically, I found that okay. I think toll commitment's tough. Ones where I need to defend me back ones, those are hard. I think Blade's Edge could be quite difficult as well because I can fall behind early on and they burn them away from me, you know. They're quite close. Armies can hunker down and hold a lot of them. The lads who've been beating me, you know, some of the games, JP with Mortec, Ian with Dispossessed, they just get on the objectives. Know my rules, know how I sneak onto objectives, stop me doing it. And if they know that, and they know all my tricks, and they know how to stop me getting on objectives, they just score and score and score, and I don't get to get points. So yeah, that's been good. Hope I answered that a little bit there, but the ones where people can really just sit on them and hold them quite comfortably, they're a real challenge for me. I do think the burning ones are maybe a little bit better. Hero ones, I guess, like I don't play Arcane Power as a rule in any game unless I had to in a tournament, and I don't play Knife to the Heart ever either. But I just don't enjoy them in practice games. So
no, I think it's fair. Ben Johnson, hi Ben, is asking, why do you not like using allies? Is it a background thing?
Right. Okay, so yes, it's a background thing, but that's not a very good answer, right? Because in the background, these ally together, and some of the examples Byron gave are completely understandable to be to work together and whatnot. And I took Aether Wings and I've converted them to be like drones, so they fit in with my army and stuff. And the game's got loads of scope to do that. We've seen it with like Shaman armies recently. People love making metal armies now and doing all sorts of scratch builds there. So you can make it work perfectly. You can make it work as a hobby project beautifully. And I think when they added actually Ben, when the rules were added to allow, you know, some allies and allow some like they released all those box sets with it that were like sort of the perfect points to fit in and all that. I think that's great because a lot of the armies didn't have enough units to make, you know, them interesting as a hobby project and stuff like that. So yeah, they're the things, the factors that make me think, I like to have the army just all on its own. I guess I wish there was no ally rules, but I do think it does add something to the game when people want to do it. So it seemed a bit of a flip-flop answer, but hope that explains it a little bit.
Like, you know, it's like you said, it's nice. I understand. I think the thing that really sort of like ruined my immersion of the hobby a little bit is when you see like, and Byron's going to roll his eyes at me, when you see a Stormcast army with like the wall of skinks in front of it, which is not there because it's themed. It's there because that's an efficient war scroll to provide you something that the Stormcast army doesn't have. Which is, you know, if you're looking at it from a purely competitive point.
Look, I've done it. I've took Aether Wings. I've literally done that.
Exactly.
Like, have I made an excuse to? I'm not made an excuse to make them fit with my army. I just want them to look nice in my army, you know, because I'm a picture and I enjoy that side of it as well. But yeah, I guess I don't like allies because sometimes the extreme things that come out are miserable to see. Like, that's a great example, Skinks.
Does it just feel a bit gross? Basically, at some point it feels a bit gross.
Yeah. I'm taking Aether Wings. Maybe I should not be taking Aether Wings right now. This is
maybe they're just undergrowth.
This is not working
I'd
out.
say no, I don't like allies. I want to take Aether Wings, though.
Yeah, I know. This
Sorry.
isn't... Yeah.
And you've justified it by making them drones. But like, I mean, I'm the same though, dude. Like, you know, I form the same camp as you. It's like, I get it. If someone like leans into it and makes it work for their army, that's cool. But like when you see like, well, back in the day when you'd have like, you know, Sure Charge with 1 million evocators and then a line of skinks, like, or like a line of bodies. You know, if it's a themed thing, I get it. Like, in a school, and like,
Nurgle Be'lakor. It's themed.
Yeah, Be'lakor. Yeah, every
He's themed.
every
He's
Chaos
Nurgle.
faction list has Be'lakor in it now.
The theme
That's
is
undivided.
Chaos Armies.
He's got the keyword undivided. Like, it's not Nurgle at all.
He's
He
themed.
should be divided by
just
the
'cause you
amount
want
of
it.
Chaos players currently.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think for me, like, allies is a good thing because it allows you to fill holes in your army that otherwise that battle tome might not be the complete thing that you want it to be. And we're talking purely match play here rather than the benefits of doing a narrative story and having a reason to have the Sylvaneth or the Stormcast because you really like that Black Library novel where they're trying to transport the seed of Ilario and all that kind of stuff. I think for me personally, if I can avoid using allies by using the stuff at the battle tome, I will. But if there is a gap that I want to fill and it isn't in the battle tome, then I don't mind looking at allies. It's a bit like putting a fungoid cave shaman in Iron Jaws because you need more command points. You know, I think it's fine. So I don't think it's a bad thing, and it also does open up some conversion opportunities to, you know, do some modelling. Like I've seen a lot of KO players using like the Bobbleman the backpacks and doing like mines and stuff like that for Aether Wings.
Yeah.
So, which is fine. You know, I mean, I don't have an issue with that. I mean, it's, you know, they've built those backpacks, so they've obviously gone through the pain of doing that, so that's fine. But I think honestly, the like allies is just a caveat of the game that adds rather than takes away, in my opinion. But as a personal preference, you can just say, well, I don't want to use them if I can, and that's fine, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's there so you can take a Drogoth army and you're allowed to do that and make it feasible in the world of Warhammer because you can put in 220s of grot or whatever. Obviously, when you've got like a grab bag of really weird stuff, it can feel a bit disgusting. But I think it's all just down to taste, isn't it? And if someone puts in the effort and makes it look dead pretty, then that shouldn't make a difference, but it does. So it's it's one of the most subjective things we could possibly discuss here. I do think the gyrocopters are such a great on theme way to handle a lot of things in the armies you've been facing. Like Mortek Guard, I don't imagine they would like gyrocopters. Dispossessed, I don't imagine they would particularly enjoy them either. And like just having something you don't care about as much as your boat, I think could add in. There's the temptation of running them 3 for 180 because it's a bargain, but also I think just having like 1/1/1 is really not a bad option. And then you're closer to, I imagine at least, the purpose of the Aether Wings that you've been popping in.
Yeah. I guess what you don't want to see is like, do we want to see Aether Wings in every single Age of Sigmar or the Age of Sigmar army? No. I guess, you know, like, because we did see skinks for a while, didn't we, and stuff, but in a lot of armies, I guess.
Cool,
but
right, so it's fine.
Bellacor's fine.
Every chaos army has
Bellacor's
Be'lakor.
chaos. That's how chaos works. So yeah,
You need to have him, honestly, to deal with this rubbish stuff that other people have got. Justify my own.
He is pretty good. Like,
I take 10 Be'lakors. No, can't. So I just wanted to. Look, it's quite interesting that you're changing your gaming style. And are you sticking with KO then? Are they fitting with you? You're kind of going to keep at it, break through the pain barrier of losing.
yeah, I actually keep at it with now. I think if you asked me that question and there was at a tournament on Saturday and I needed 100 ranking points, maybe Host Duplicitous might come out of its little box and I'll tag some people with no retreat again. But no, I'd like to carry on playing KHARADRON Overlords. I really, really like my army. I love that I've got lots of boats on the board now. I feel like I'm moving a fleet round like you always imagine the army to be. I love what they've made rules-wise. I think across the table, the opponents don't always agree when they're getting shot, and your army can be wherever it wants, and that is quite hard to play against if you're not just going to stand on objectives. But I really like playing it. I think I'll probably go to a tournament and some priority rolls won't go my way or something, or I'll make some bad decisions and I won't be able to have a forgiving army of guys to hide behind, and maybe I won't stick with it. But I love playing them right now. Yeah, rage quit and then straight away I'm like looking for a game the day afterwards to play with them again as well. So.
If you want,
Yeah,
I think otherwise I'd probably play host Duplicitous. I think with Zinch still change host Duplicitous. I think that survived the points very well and is a very powerful army. So
you need to go to a tournament with some comp, dude. Sounds like you could be rocking your KO out in a more balanced field and be stomping it.
Yeah, I'll make. Go on. Sorry.
I'm going to make a crass remark, so it's fine. I'm just going to say, you're basically saying that like the K Army is like the hot girl that treats you badly, but you still go back because it's the hot girl.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're saying, right? You're like,
fair enough.
I love it and I hate it at the same time. So, no, I get it. I think it's quite an interesting point, and I think that players go through this kind of it's not really a moral dilemma, but maybe it's a dilemma for some of, do I take this thing which I know is really good but doesn't generally like engage me or make the other person feel warm and fuzzy inside but gets results, or do I take the thing I really like and just accept the fact that it's not? And you sort of mentioned there, you were like, oh, actually, if I needed the rankings points, you'd basically put your heart away and just take your ruthlessness and your cold calculating brain and just get the Zinch out of the box.
Yeah,
I think as well. Sorry,
that's a journey you make, right? Like, yeah. I know I'll make that. I'll get over that, because as much as which I think Age of Sigmar is a fantastic game, of course it is. Is it a super competitive and the perfect game to play competitively? No, and the game is quite small. The scene, it's growing so much. But there's still like we said, the meta isn't. I don't like saying that because people bring whatever they want. These events are quite chill and they're a lot of fun. And I think once you maybe get over worrying about if you're in the Masters and all that stuff, like basically the journey, you always talk about having Russ, right? You've done the bit that I'm doing now. You're cool. You're gonna bring whatever army you want. I'm over it,
old?
Right? No. I'm probably older than you, right? By quite a bit.
I think so.
But,
it's my birthday on Monday, but
happy birthday Monday. But I think I'll enjoy that more. Like, it's good. Lockdown's been good in the not worrying about tournaments, play what armies I want to play with, and the games that are important to the games just against my friend, and it's been nice in that respect. And
it's rewarding as well when you stick to something, right? So like I know, like harking back to when I used to take the Stormcast with the Stardrake, like that army, and I just played like 120 games with that same list, and it was like I was winning some games when people couldn't deal with the Mirror Shield Staunch Defender, and then I was winning games with the Shard Fist Pal and and stuff like that. And it's just but then I'd also lose games when you just come up against something that you can't deal with. And for me, it was like you just get you sort of like you kind of fall in love with it because you're like, right, okay, I need to play out of my skin to win this game because I know that it's a really bad matchup, and it's just like that journey. And that's why, like, I haven't played Stormcast in such a long time now, other than like the odd bit here and there. But the book inside out, and it's like you're the thing that you go back to because it's just rewarding. Like we, for example, like the last tournament I went to was in Belgium, and I took Hallowheart when I should have just took Stormcast because I could have gone there, not cared, and just enjoyed the process of playing the games against the people there instead of taking ultimately like a super competitive list at the time, and not enjoying any of the games because sometimes you want to sort of like it's that thing that it's the challenge of taking an army that perhaps isn't as top end as you'd like and learning with it and like learning those mistakes, knowing that if you put it into X, Y, or Z on the table that on average it dies or you just come out on top without having to sort of like math it out. And I think it's sometimes that's more important. Like the journey is more important than the win. Sometimes I think, but particularly for me, and it seems like
you can't learn with some armies either. That's it. If your thing is I do 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that order, and sometimes I do 1, 3, 2, 4 because I'm playing something that's more defensive or whatever. and things don't go according to plan, you don't get a learning point out of that. Whereas if you've got your, like, I don't know, whatever it's, let's say 7 different war scrolls, 11 drops, cool army that, you know, inside out and back to front, and you turn up and you're like, I got completely smashed there. It wasn't even a game, but my deployment, I'm never going to repeat again against that type of thing. You got smashed, you got wiped off the table. Hopefully you still had a nice time chatting with your opponent, whatever. But you do get something to take away from that. Whereas if you just turned up and tried to execute like 15 spells in order and it didn't work for whatever reason because you had a hard counter, you don't get a learning point. You're just like, oh, well, I hope I win the next one, which is just not the same, is it?
I think nearly everybody must go through this decision, right? Like, am I going to bring my best thing? Am I going to bring this army I love? A big one for me, am I going to bring this army I've just painted? I want to win this painting competition. This army's painted better than this one, or I've just added this awesome unit to it. That's all going on. Is Terry going? Can my army even win? No, it can't. Sound I can bring a bad painted army, so I'll just play the army that wins. There's like, everyone goes through this, right? And that's how, in the end, there's not, in a 100-player tournament, 30 people on Lumineth, 30 people on Seraphon, and 20 people on other stuff. Because we all just play everything we love, you know. And if anyone here doesn't go to tournaments all the time, look, the reality of it is, there's 100 people, 10 of us really want to win. The other 90 people just really want to be there for whatever reason, you know. And you're going to play against all sorts of armies. Sorry.
I was just going to say, the 10 people who want to win face each other round 3, and then one of them gets smashed down, and like, suddenly Squigs win the tournament, and you're like, oh.
Don't turn up Sunday.
Yeah,
I think
it's boss.
It's really interesting now because, like, what you were describing with, like, you don't see 30 people playing X, 20 people playing Y. I remember going to the GTs back in the day when they were
2008,
more long before that, 2002, 2001. Back when it was the kind of, you did see like demons, dark elves, vampires, and it was like there's 40 demon armies, there's 30 dark elf armies, and I think that's kind of a testament to AOS that there is such variation.
Absolutely.
It's a lot more. There's a lot more enjoyment even taking a weaker army than something that is perceived weaker. I'll use that term. I think as well, like, AOS has got so many permutations of builds, and people just don't experiment enough, so you don't see the impact of them. And I think that's the thing you talk about KO, about your opponent might get frustrated against them, and I think a lot of it is there's a lot of almost gotcha moments with KO because the understanding of how they behave maybe isn't there because the inexperience. And I sort of talk about this when an army book's released or a new faction's released, there's this impact curve where you have the people that don't play a lot outside of events or practice or have not encountered these armies before because their local gamers don't have it. They come against these new things and they haven't sat down, mapped it out, thought about it, and they get caught out because they didn't know how they work. Because a lot of people play by experience, right? They play a game and they say, oh, that experience happened, what would I do differently next time? But that time's gone, so that game's lost, right? So if you compound that in an event, then the newer stuff always looks strong because you might say that 50% of those results are based on, oh, I played someone who didn't know how it worked and I won. But if they knew how it worked, their list was more than capable of beating me, and in that scenario, etc., which I think is quite interesting. So,
yeah, definitely. It is. You're right. It's a massive testament to the game. You know, we all love to talk in massive extremes. We talk tier lists all the time and rank the armies, but the reality is that a lot of them are really close, and I think a lot of times maybe people will take an army and think they won't win, or it is a lot worse than these. But I don't have many games of Age of Sigmar that are just lost. The people don't feel like they're in it. You don't feel like you're doing something, even if maybe you have lost and you don't realise it. I think there's a lot of people are still, you know, enjoying what's going on. So it's good. Like, it's just bad to hear that, you know, Warhammer was like that. You know, just there's 40 of this and 30 of that. It's a shame, isn't it?
So speaking then, I'm going to put you on the spot now. So speaking of tier lists, you're talking, obviously you're a Sylvaneth player from old and you played them a lot.
Sure.
How do you feel about them now? And would you play with them again?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think they're bad right now. I haven't given them any chance. I haven't tried them myself. Yes, the internet's told me that they're poor, and maybe I've listened a little bit, but I didn't play with them because the tiny little bit I did, I felt I was just so restricted doing all the things they did. There was a balance between what Terry was talking about and I think what has happened with the book, that there was somewhere in the middle that we didn't quite get to. I think a lot of what they used to do doesn't work anymore, and sometimes you just have to forget how a book was and think of it in a new light, don't you? But yeah, I don't think they feel so great right now.
Did you feel that there was a lot taken away and not enough added, and that actually it just felt like it's not a nerf, but it almost felt like a nerf, but there wasn't, like with the KO, they changed massively in flavour, but they gained a lot. Whereas I feel like Sylvaneth kind of, they had a really good flavour, but there was a scaling back of some of the rules that when you actually, you get caught out because all the different things work slightly differently. So you had like the teleport from the spell, or how you set up a wood from the spell, from the tree relation, it was all different. So it's like it kind of like unified and restricted and a 9 away and all that kind of stuff, and a holy within. It maybe made them feel a little bit too restrictive. But I was just interested if there was a part of you that was like, I'm motivated to really make these work and really like deep dive, or did you just analyze the book and go, I'm time to move on, I've played them long enough, and you know, I want to do something else? I mean, what was the thought process?
I never loved them in the first place. They weren't an army that I selected for the looks and for the range or the lore or anything like that. I picked them at the time. I was very, very new to tournament play, very new, and I'd played KO before when they were just busted, right?
Yeah.
But I hate saying words like that, but you know, the guns were a lot more powerful, and the combat was a lot more powerful. And I just either wiped them out or I won a prize roll, and it was absolutely over. So I wanted to play an army that did decide who went first or second. That was the key part for me. Like, I think that is generally very powerful. There's very few lists that wouldn't want that. So yeah, that's sort of it. They were doing one drops in lots of different ways. At the time, it seemed to me that they had quite a lot of different units that I could use. Obviously, it turned out I only really used 2 or 3 in the end. But yeah, and I enjoyed the little journey.
Yeah,
through it, really.
I think that's really interesting.
I'm interested in doing it again.
Because I was going to say,
I love dwarfs. The dwarf armies are really good right now. Fire Slayers are really good, and KO are good enough and interesting.
Jordan.
Jordan. Sorry, yes. So Jordan, yes.
You know what you said about the Sylvaneth, Ritchie? Like, I played a lot of Sylvaneth in that first iteration of the book. I think like I must have been over 120 games. I can't remember without checking my book. And I loved them initially. And when the second book came out, I looked at it and I was just like, it felt like there was something there that nobody had really looked at. And I haven't looked at it myself properly, but I played Laurie, and this is going to hurt me to say this. I played Laurie at the final last year, and the Dreadwood formation to me felt like it had the tools to deal with everything.
Yeah.
Just because of the being able to deploy. I think with the sort of like, maybe the combat units aren't as efficient, but I think there's definitely a competitive. I feel like there's a competitive, aggressive list there, with especially now with the way that we've got quite a lot of objectives that are spread out. I might be completely wrong. Maybe I'm talking rubbish, but I felt like when I played Laurie, he had the answers deployment-wise to definitely deal with the Fire Slayers that I was playing. Maybe that was the mission. But with the release of the new handbook, the objective games changed a little bit. Do you not think maybe looking at that, because obviously you can just essentially redeploy, but you've got combat, and you've got like almost auto charges with some of the endless spells. I mean, yeah, you're reliant on spells going off, and that's just my initial thought.
Yeah, I just think that a lot of things didn't work. I think ultimately I haven't given them enough thought. I think unknowingly Russ has nailed it there where he said, sort of had that journey with them, and I enjoyed it loads, and it got me to where I am in Sigmar. You know, I had success. I played a few armies. I got on the England team, and you know, I'd done well. I really enjoyed that first Masters I got to go to, where maybe I'm wrong here. Actually, three of the other players are here right now. You know, me and Laurie. For me, you know, if I was looking at that from the other side, and you know, we knew the pack, we knew the missions, we knew me and Laurie were going to play Wand Up Sylvaneth. We were at least the list to beat, maybe not the players, but I guess in your prep coming in, you know, from the outside, I looked at it, I was like, you know, well, what's everyone going to bring? And I was thinking, no, it doesn't really matter what everyone else is going to bring. This is what I'm bringing. Everyone knows me and Laurie are going to bring it, and we go first in these missions, and it's going to be hell to beat us. So I don't know if you...
the price fold at the time to play, and I conceded to Laurie in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
At the Masters. He deployed, and the game ended. That was it.
Did you play him in the better part of Valor round?
No, I played him in the Scorched Earth, and he just burned all my objectives because he outnumbered me with 90 Dryads turn 1, and I had not enough Plague Bearers to outnumber him back. So the game, literally, he went first, teleported forwards, did his thing, and I shook his hand. That was it. It was the quickest game at the Masters.
I think you were playing behind me, and I was playing Craig Nambar, and I just the same over turn 1, you know. But yeah, that's the same I felt about. So I enjoyed that. You know, there we are, right to the end. That was it. Played it out really, and then we played it a little bit after that. You know, just because it was still around, but we knew it was going. We knew the new book was coming, and they met the delays for whatever reason, and that was it. Yeah, and like you say, Steve nailed it there in Twitch chat, and it was nice to see Laurie play my list. Beautiful.
I find that it's kind of interesting that I mean I just point out that I beat both with my Legion army because I knew it could beat the army. But
fair enough.
It was,
but in prep for it and deciding what armies was that a fair assessment for you?
Well, I think I played the same list at a heat or a final like very recently before the event, and I was like, well, that's fine. I know I can deal with that army, so I'm not too fussed. Obviously, Scorched Earth is a different story.
Sure.
I think that what's interesting is you kind of pointed that your motivation for starting Sylvaneth was a gaming reason. You said like you wanted to do the sort of gameplay and you weren't. It wasn't about the fact that you were like in love with Sylvaneth as a faction, which I find is really interesting because I get the motivation to do an army based on the game experience. I also get the motivation based on the model and the background, and I all I want to do is make the best game experience I could possibly get from that faction, not necessarily that it's the best thing. And it's like I would always shoehorn Arcan into my armies because I wanted to use Arcan, not necessarily that's the best choice, just sometimes he just turned out to be good. And I even, like when I went Blood and Glory with Mixed Death, you know, it wasn't even Legion, or it was before Legion, it was just Mixed Death, and I was up around the top tables, and just lost to Byron at the end. But it was kind of one of those things which I think worked really well. So it's just interesting that there are different reasons for playing the two different I'm going into it as a gamer, or I'm going into it as a hobbyist, or maybe it's a mixture of both. And I think that kind of answers the question why you didn't go back to Sylvaneth, because it was a gaming reason, and the new Battle Tome essentially removed that gaming experience from that Battle Tome, so there was no longer that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I entered it because I wanted to win games of Sigmar, and you talk about it being a perfect competitive game or not, or what have you, but I want to win, and I treat it like super competitively. So that was, how it come about to start with. And you know what? It was a boss journey with it. Got to know Laurie really well from it. All the the mick taken about who's playing what list, and me just playing a list a month behind Laurie until I caught up when he settled on the best one, and I played it for a while afterwards. The communities that rally around each faction, in the WhatsApp and whatnot, and people want to ask you questions about your army or cheer you on because you play their faction and all that. It's all boss. So I found that with all the armies. Git's the same when I played Git's for a while, then afterwards, and that was great. And Git's was boss for other reasons. I played Git's for a while because a friend gave me 120 night goblins. He was like, here they all are, have them. So I was like, right. I already had some Night Goblins, and the models are boss right. The range had just come out; they were all amazing. So I painted a Night Goblin army, and I loved it. I made the list that done really well. Obviously, it's a big world, and everyone thinks of the same list at the same time, right? Like, it's not mine, but in my heart, I like the same with KO right now. No matter what everyone else has been talking about KO, I've switched off from it. I've looked at the book, done it myself, got the thrill of building a list that I think was really good. Then go out to the open world, and I've done well with it. I got lots of good results, and I could have won a lot more tournaments, and that was a different one. It was like, I cracked it here with a book that wasn't perceived to be very well, that wasn't performing very well, and the army that was mine, and that was a whole different, love for it. So,
well, all right, one more question from me. So I'm sort of thinking of things as we're going. If there's an army that you particularly involved with, that you enjoy the theme and the hobby aspect, let's say for example Zinch, but there's also a power list and people are on it for the game power rather than the background.
Okay,
Do you ever sit there and go, well, I've got like this heart list I want to play. I'm going to akin it to supporting Detroit Lions in NFL. You go, I really want to support them, but I know it's the bad decision. So you basically say, like, I want to play. I want to play. I don't know. Let's say something like one of the Zinch lesser known factors that you don't see. But if I'm playing that, I should just play this list because it's infinitely better. And when you get to a table, people still eye roll you and go, "Oh, not Zinch again." So do you have that? Have you had that in a book? Has that happened?
No. I'm luckily I don't think that's not happened with me, but I completely get where you're coming from. And Ian, who hosts Just Saying with us, he goes through that all the time. Like, he's loved some books recently that he's had an army for, but then everybody's playing it, and it's the list, and he wants to do something different, or maybe just is happy just to play that list. It's the best. It does. It puts him off all the time from it. No, it's not for me. I guess KHARADRON Overlords, I loved beyond all belief, and when I played them the first time around, they were the most busted thing on the tables. So it didn't stop me. I was at first. I played a list that was a little bit different because I wanted to have more than one boat. So I played a frigate and an ironclad. But then after a little bit, I'll just run.
Clown car, right?
Yeah, I ran some maths. Those points turn to this many guns instead of one gun, and off you go. So yeah,
you get into that optimization mode. Because I had the same one.
I'm winning.
And I painted them in Barrett Mornar colours. I ended up taking Clown Car Zilfin.
Well, mine is Ilfin because at the time I was super new to it, and there was like people having the age-old talk that now I know comes and goes, that you can't play that Stormhost if they're not painted in the Stormhost colours, So I was like, sugar, I best paint them Zilfin. But I was like,
traditionalist. I only play Celestial Vindicators with my Stormcast only, and that's it, because that's what they look like.
No, you don't.
But and people just like, I'm sure everyone's like, what?
No,
that's just what I did.
You played vanilla.
No, I play vanilla or I play Celestial Vindicators. That's it. Vanilla or Celestial Vindicator.
You just couldn't be bothered to paint Gavriel, right?
Mate, I'm not doing Gav Charge. They're Hammers of Sigmar. It's a different thing. I'm not that guy. I am that guy in many different ways, but I'm not that guy at Sigmar.
That question's perfect for you, though, Terry, isn't it? Sorry, Les, that's perfect for you, right? Yeah. There must have been a point where KO where Stormcast were mental good. Everyone's throwing hammers down and charging with Gav. You played Stormcast forever. You didn't play them, right?
No, never played it. Never played Gav's Sure Charge list ever. Never. I've never played anything other than vanilla with Staunch Defender on the Dragon, or Celestial Vindicators with Skyborn Slayers. I've never done Avils of Haldenhammer. I've never done. They literally, it's either a vanilla Stormcast host or Celestial Vindicators, and that's just something that it's the old 40k playing me. I grew up playing 40k. It's like I don't paint my Marines as Dark Angels and then use the Space Wolf book because it's better. For me, Celestial Vindicators are what they are. So they're either generic Stormhost or they're Vindicators. And it's hampered me. If I wanted to play, Gav Sure Charge, then that's ultimately a better list. But I just didn't want to do it. It just didn't feel right to me. Like, just because of what, like, how I'm like deep down like a GW traditionalist. Like, I love the heavy metal painting style. If I could paint anyway, it'd be like that. I love, like, you know, I want things to look like they should do in the book. I want all the markings to be correct. Like, it's the hobby that I love it. It's just part of who I am. It's like it's been with me since I'm 11 and I'm 38. And that is just how I am. So, like, and each to their own. Some people want to paint their Marines, or their Stormhost silver and use them as Hammers of Sigmar. Don't get me wrong. If I was starting a Stormcast army now, I'd do them silver and I'd create my own Stormhost, and then I'd do whatever I wanted, and I'd maybe do it that way. But
Space Marine way, innit? Space Marine way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's
and why harm yourself, right?
Yeah.
Why, like, if you paint your Space Marine army like Ultramarines, for me, you're a maniac. Like, just paint them some sort of blue army, and you can play them as White Scars, Blood Angels, blah 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 blah, and you just get loads more play out the same models. So,
yeah, but you might really like Ultramarine color scheme or Imperial Fist. I think it depends on where you come at the game, innit? If you're Nick Baton, you just play, it's Ultramar for the win, and that's it,
I've got an Imperial Fist army. Yeah.
Of course you do.
I've done it as well.
It's not right or wrong. It's just how
we're the most show-off painted army then. That was why.
Yeah.
I can paint yellow. Get on me. That was it.
Oh, I love yellow. I've got a question then. If the field was theoretically completely level and you could play anything because you thought it was mega, it did all the things you want out of an army, whether this is with a KO or another army or it's a specific...
We lost someone there if anyone's talking, but...
Yeah, Byron's breaking up. I think what he's going to ask you is, if the playing field was completely level and you could play any of the armies, had all the competitive choices and all the balance you needed out of the game, what would you play? I guess that's what he was asking.
I'd play KHARADRON Overlords.
Right. Okay.
What build?
The best thing about Age of Sigmar for me is it's new. I'm sure we've all played Warhammer for a very long time. I played it since I was 11 years old. It took a lot to drag me into 40k again because it's the same. I know if you're invested in 40k, it's not the same world, but to me, it's all the same armies that there's ever been. The models are better. The Space Marines are better models. I didn't want to play any of them. But Age of Sigmar, it's like when that new release is coming, I'm just like, I cannot wait to see something original. I love the old world as well. But yeah, I just love seeing new armies, and KO is the best one of those that they've done for me, really.
It was the first Age of Sigmar one, I think. When it was just like, this is, because everything else was kind of like a reimagine, apart from Stormcast, obviously. Other than
of course,
Stormcast, like it was like, other than Stormcast, it was the first new take and like Sigmar-ified like army, and I thought that the KO just like, when I saw them, it blew my mind. I was just like, oh my god, this is. I think like, there's a picture somewhere of me looking at the picture of the Ironclad when Ben showed me it, and like my face is just like, what is that?
I remember that stuff. Yeah,
it just like it just blew my mind.
What build would it be then, Ritchie? If everything was balanced.
Amazing. Deepkin, next one, yeah. So I think KO and Deepkin are the two standout ones for me, and they're the stuff that I'm always showing off to people. When they come into store and they're sort of talking about Sigmar, they used to know the old world. Ooh, what happened to me elves or whatever? Now I've got an easy answer there. They are. Look at them, they're amazing. But yeah, that's it. Like, KO is my favourite one of those. So, well, I'm lucky. I didn't play Warhammer for ages in the later part of me 20s and 30s and that. So loads of the stuff's new to me, really.
Yeah. What build would it be then? What build would it be, Ritchie?
The most even balanced list that you said earlier on, Byron. Sorry. So Byron,
Byron
dropped.
I can't hear Byron at all. Sorry, guys.
I think his thing dropped. His internet. So he's got like a little bit
having problems.
Yeah, cool.
He was saying, what build would you play in KHARADRON?
Like, sorry,
what you're doing.
I don't know.
Of KHARADRON, if I was gonna play KHARADRON at a tournament tomorrow, I would play 2 Endrin Masters with Endrin harnesses, I would give them Great Tinkerer and eyepiece of ocular, something that makes you be able to stare at people from really far away and stare really, really hard at them, and do 3 shots, 3 tier 2s to wound, round 1d3 damage. So it's just like basically an extra gun in your army with a couple of artifact choices. I would then play Iron Sky Attack Squadron, or Iron Attack Squadron. I always get the 2 names of those two mixed up, with 2 frigates and 2 Arcanaut Company. Then I would play an Ironclad with 2 units of 10 Thunderers, 3 units of 3 Aether Wings, and that's my army. So that's what I've been playing with mostly, and that would be my choice. There's quite a bit of flex in that, in a couple, like in particular, and the heroes and the artifacts. If I decided I wanted to nod towards like Lumineth and Seraphon, I'd have to test against those armies and see if I could leverage the matchup, or what the matchup was even like, really, with some character choices and that. Because the Navigator's really good at slowing movement down, but I guess then it'll be good in, like I've just said, about if you look at the top lists, they don't particularly fly. And yeah, the odd character does, but I'm not fussed if Teclis flies or not, whatever. But I am fussed because I reroll 1 hit against him, but whatever. I'm not bothered about where he moves. You can move around when he wants, I'll find him. But down in the trenches, rounds 1 to 3 or whatever, someone's randomly going to have a dragon that would crush my army if it got hold of me. So maybe it'll be good against them. Yeah, that's the list that I like. So it's Zilfin as well. So I've got the Zilfin move to do things to steal objectives with the Thunderers, 2 units of Thunderers, because I like to be able to split them when I do the Zilfin move, jump out, take multiple objectives, or just leave 10 guys behind and then still be able to fly around with the other 10. I like the Attack Squadron because, again, it allows you to move your boats and then get out within 6 of the boat and only 3 away from the opponent. So it's another way to get onto objective if they've let me in. That's the army I like. It's got a bunch of boats. They fly around as a fleet. They heal each other. Looks awesome.
Yep.
Got everything for me. I really like it. I think there may be some tweaks, but it's pretty solid. Good point to kick off from.
Sweet. No, I bet it looks awesome. Yeah.
All right, cool. I think we're basically over our hour now, so I think we'll wrap up there. But before we stop this sort of interview segment, is there anything you want to plug or talk about? Have you got an event coming up at your place or anything like that that's available?
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, you should listen to me if you've enjoyed hearing what I've got to say. I talk about Age of Sigmar now, 40k a little bit. Every week we're recording right now, and the podcast is called Just Saying. Obviously, you can find it on all your podcast app thingies, or you can find it on our website, justplaygames.uk. And yeah, we talk about stuff all the time. And yeah, ask me any questions. You can find me on Twitter, or hit us up again, hello at justplaygames.uk, and you can get in touch with me there. And happy to talk and give some feedback on anything you want to do. Events wise, it's tough right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do have an event coming up. We've got a 64-player 2-dayer, which is very sold out and very oversubscribed on a wait list as well. That's happening in the middle of November. So if maybe you can't make it, or you want to follow along with what will be one of the few big events this year, and since the General's Handbook, we'll be doing a little bit of coverage there, updating on what's going on and seeing what armies people take and things like that. Hopefully we don't see anything to stop that going ahead. We've put all the measures we can in place to adhere to government guidelines and suggestions and restrictions and what have you. And I'm excited to run that and see what's going on. Should be a spicy one, hopefully. So be a bit different, very different.
Hopefully we can get up to one eventually, Ritchie. I know I've been promising to come up to one a couple of times, but we need to really get up.
Hopefully I'll have somebody along. I think Byron's not far down the waiting list. I think he's about 3rd or 4th, so he's close to getting a spot. There's always some dropouts in that, isn't there? So But yeah, we'll see. You know, see, the world's not in the best place right now, and more and more things coming into place, lockdowns and whatnot. So we'll see.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for coming on and spending some of your weekend with us. Really appreciate that, to come and
Cheers,
talk about Age of Sigmar. Thanks to people watching. Obviously, Facehammer Worldwide's going all weekend, so get on the Discord. We do have a little bit of restriction around the amount of people that can sit in the video channel to 25. However, the general chat's there. You can post your entries for the competition, and I'll be putting the streams on Twitch. So I think the next one's shortly. So
at 6, I think we got James Tinsdale on, haven't we? I think so. We got a little bit of a bit of downtime before we.
I've got a bit of time, so I can build my guy because all my element stuff just turned up. So I'm excited.
We heard the doorbell ring.
I know.
Get me pictures sorted for all your painting competitions and all that as well. I think I've got most of them sorted, but yeah.
Amazing.
I can't wait to do that.
We've linked
Always a pleasure.
Just Play podcast in the general chat if you've not heard of it, and the Discord I'm sure that most people will have done. So just if you click on that link, it'll take you straight to the podcast that Ritchie and Ian do and the boys up there. So
and hopefully we can get this on YouTube, and we've done a video where we talk about some of the entries from Facehammer last year, and Ritchie's Fire Slayers featured on that. So if you want to check those out, and his beautiful glow effects he did on his
full army this year, boys.
Full army, nice.
I expect to see the submission.
Full army, that's what I'll get. That's what I'll get. Full lot for that this year. So shame it's not in person. Really was looking forward to that. So
yeah, I think I think like that's why we decided to do this is to, because normally we would be at Element, we'd be having the event, and we'd all be together, and I we figured we'd do something for the guys to get their hobby fix without being able to go and game. So difficult time right now, but events will return, and when they do, watch this space. So all right, well, thanks very much. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll chat to you soon.
Awesome.
Cheers, Ritchie.
Cheers, Ritchie.